My name is Brielle Lopez and I am from grade 4 SSC Terminado. And today I'll be talking about the life cycle of a frog. Number 1. Frogs lay their eggs in water or wet places. A floating clump of eggs is called from spawn. The large and slippery mass of eggs are too big to be eaten. This is nature's way of protecting them. But the smaller clumps of eggs will be eaten by the creatures living near or in the pond. The eggs begin as a single cell. Several thousand are sometimes laid at once. It becomes surrounded by a jelly-like covering which protects the egg. The female may or may not stay with the egg to take care of the young after she has laid them. The egg slowly develops, but only a few develop into adults. Number 2. The cell splits. A single cell in the egg eventually splits into 2. These 2 split, making 4 cells, and so on. Eventually, there are many cells in the egg. Number 3. The embryo. The mass of cells in the egg come to form an embryo. Organs and gills form, and in the meantime, the embryo lives off its internal yolk. This supplies it with nutrients for 21 days. Then, number 4, the tadpole. After its 21 days development period, the embryo leaves its jelly shell and attaches itself to a weed in the water. This quickly becomes a tadpole, a baby frog. The tadpole grows until they are big enough to break free into the water. This can take from 3 days to 3 weeks, depending on what kind of frog they will become. They eat very small plants that stick to larger plants in the water. These tiny plants are called algae. The tadpole has a long tail and lives in the water. It is extremely vulnerable and must rely on its camouflage to protect it. The tadpole also faces danger by being eaten by other water animals. Sometimes, the pond dries up. As a result, the tadpole dies. Number 5. The tadpole begins to change. After about 5 weeks, the tadpole begins to change. It starts to grow hind legs, which are soon followed with forelegs. Behind their head, bulges appear where there are front legs growing. Their tails become smaller, lungs begin to develop, preparing the frog for its life on land. Now and then, they wiggle to the surface to breathe in air. The tail becomes larger and make it now possible for the tadpole to swim around and catch food. They eat plants and decaying animal matter. Some tadpoles eat frog's egg, and other tadpoles. Almost there. Over time, the tadpole becomes even more frog-like. They have shed their skin and lips. Its mouth widens, and it loses its horny jaws. The tail becomes much smaller and the legs grow. The lungs are almost functional at this point. And this is the final stage, the frog. 11 weeks after the egg was laid, a fully developed frog with lungs, legs, and no tail emerges from the water. This frog will live mostly on land with occasional swims. The tiny frogs begin to eat insects and worms. Eventually, it will find a mate. The way this is done varies, depends on the species. The female lays the egg, the male fertilizes them, and the whole process begins again. And this is the life cycle of frog. That will be it. Thank you for watching. This is Brielle.